The Decimation Revival. Napoleon's generals resurrected an ancient Roman punishment that hadn't been seen in European armies for over a millennium. When the 27th Line Infantry broke ranks during the 1809 Wagram campaign, Marshal Berthier ordered every 10th man executed by his own comrades. The soldiers drew lots using marked pieces of paper torn from requisition forms, their hands shaking as they reached into a drummer's shako. The condemned men, 19 in total, were forced to kneel in the muddy Austrian field, while their messmates loaded muskets with regulation .69 caliber balls. Company records from the Archives Nationales show that Captain Jean-Baptiste Mercier personally supervised the firing squad, noting in his journal that 3 men required a second volley. The bodies were left unburied for 2 days as the regiment marched past, a detail confirmed by Lieutenant Coignier's published memoirs. This practice appeared in at least 7 documented instances between 1805 and 1813, primarily in Italian and German territories. The Imperial Guard remained exempt. Napoleon couldn't afford to decimate his elite troops, but line infantry and auxiliary units faced this ultimate lottery. During the catastrophic retreat from Russia, General Ney ordered decimation for an entire Polish cavalry squadron that abandoned its position near Smolensk. The extreme measure achieved its intended effect. Contemporary British intelligence reports noted French units would hold positions under impossible odds, rather than risk their commanders invoking the ancient punishment. The psychological impact transcended the immediate victims. Soldiers who participated in executing their friends showed significantly higher desertion rates in subsequent months, according to regimental strength reports preserved at Vincennes, yet those who remained became Napoleon's most reliable troops. Marshal Davout observed that regiments subjected to decimation suffered 40% fewer disciplinary incidents than comparable units, a pattern documented across 3 separate campaigns in correspondence with the Emperor. The Gauntlet of Bayonets. French military regulations of 1807 formalized a punishment called passing the ranks, where convicted soldiers ran between 2 columns of their comrades armed with reversed muskets. The victim stripped to the waist and sprinted through lines that could stretch 200 men long, each soldier required to strike as he passed or face charges themselves. Regimental surgeon Pierre-François Percy documented 32 such punishments during the Peninsula War, recording injuries ranging from fractured ribs to ruptured organs. His medical journal, now housed in the Bibliothèque Nationale, describes one sergeant who survived 4 passages but died of infection within a week. The prescribed pace, a drummer's beat of 120 steps per minute, prevented victims from running fast enough to minimize impacts, but forced them through quickly enough to maintain brutal momentum. The 32nd Line Infantry administered this punishment publicly in Portuguese villages, forcing local civilians to witness French military justice. Captain Marbot's memoirs describe an incident near Salamanca, where Spanish irregulars attacked a French column the following day, specifically targeting officers who had supervised such punishments. They crucified 3 lieutenants and left their bodies displayed, with signs reading, "For the Gauntlet." Napoleon's marshals justified this practice as necessary for maintaining discipline among conscripts who'd been farmers and shopkeepers months earlier. Marshal Soult's correspondence from 1810 argues that harsh physical punishment created unit cohesion faster than traditional drill. The results proved effective. Units employing the gauntlet showed 28% fewer court-martials, according to Army of Spain administrative records. Yet the same documents reveal these regiments sustained higher casualties in battle, as soldiers chose enemy fire over the disgrace of retreat and subsequent punishment. Branding the coward. The French army maintained portable branding equipment in every brigade's baggage train, iron letters heated in specially designed portable forges that could be assembled in under an hour. Soldiers convicted of cowardice received a D for deserteur, or C for coward, burned into their left cheek or shoulder, making their shame permanent and visible. Captain Elzéar Blaise witnessed dozens of brandings during the Italian campaigns, recording precise details in his published reminiscences. The regimental blacksmith would heat the iron until it glowed dull red, hot enough to scar, but not hot enough to char the flesh completely. 4 grenadiers held the convicted soldier against a wagon wheel, while the provost marshal applied the brand for exactly 3 seconds. Medical orderly François Avril noted that most men fainted from the pain, but regulations required them to be revived and forced to stand for inspection by their entire regiment. These marked men couldn't hide their disgrace. Spanish and Portuguese civilians learned to recognize the brands and refused to sell food or shelter to scarred French soldiers. British forces catalogued captured French troops and noted brand marks in prisoner records maintained at Kew Archives. 143 branded soldiers were documented between 1808 and 1809, 1,813. The punishment created a permanent underclass within the Grande Armée. Branded soldiers couldn't transfer units or earn promotion, regardless of subsequent valor. At Borodino, a corporal named Denis Mercier, branded in 1807 for abandoning his post in Prussia, led a desperate bayonet charge that captured a Russian artillery position. Marshal Ney personally recommended him for the Legion of Honor, but Napoleon's headquarters rejected the petition, citing the brand. Mercier died at Leipzig still wearing a corporal's stripes, his scar tissue whitened but still legible after 6 years of service. The Ball and Chain March. French penal companies marched across Europe dragging iron balls chained to their ankles, a mobile punishment that transformed soldiers into spectacles of disgrace. Each ball weighed precisely 12 pounds, the weight of 8 standard musket balls, and attached via a 3-foot chain riveted around the ankle. The 8th Company of the 3rd Penal Battalion marched 847 miles from Madrid to Moscow in 1812, their movement recorded in quartermaster logs preserved at Vincennes. These men weren't imprisoned. They fought in every major engagement, advancing under fire with their chains rattling against the cobblestones. At Austerlitz, a penal company from the 57th Line held the Pratzen Heights for 40 minutes while their ball and chain soldiers struggled uphill through knee-deep mud. Colonel Pouzet's after-action report notes they sustained 73% casualties, but never broke formation. The chains prevented them from running either toward the enemy or away from battle. Night marches became genuine torture. The iron balls caught on roots and stones, sending men sprawling face first into the mud. Surgeon Percy documented severe ankle infections from the constant chafing. The iron cuffs were never removed, even for medical treatment. Men slept with the balls beside them, the chains preventing them from turning over without waking. During the Russian winter, the metal conducted cold directly into their flesh, causing frostbite that claimed legs and feet. Hospital records from Vilnius show 47 amputations directly attributed to ball and chain frostbite. The punishment typically lasted 6 months, though some soldiers wore chains for years. Those who survived developed distinctive gaits, a shuffling step that persisted long after the iron came off. Veterans could identify former penal company members decades later by their characteristic walk, a permanent reminder that Napoleon's army forgot nothing and forgave less. The wooden horse torture. French disciplinary regulations included a device called the chevalet, a wooden beam mounted 6 feet high, on which soldiers sat for hours with weights attached to their feet. The 15th Leger Infantry maintained 3 such devices that traveled with the regimental baggage, listed in inventory documents alongside ammunition and medical supplies. The condemned soldier straddled the beam's sharp edge, which pressed directly against the perineum and pelvis. Weights ranging from 20 to 60 pounds attached to each ankle, pulling the victim downward and intensifying the pressure. Guards changed every 2 hours, but the punished soldier remained mounted for sentences ranging from 4 to 12 hours. Lieutenant Martin's diary from the Egyptian campaign describes men screaming within minutes, their voices carrying across the entire encampment. Regimental surgeons documented severe complications. The beam caused deep tissue damage, crushing blood vessels and nerves in the legs. Percy's surgical notes describe cases of permanent impotence and loss of bladder control following wooden horse punishment. Many victims couldn't walk for days afterward, their inner thighs bruised purple-black from ruptured blood vessels. Some developed infections requiring amputation of crushed tissue. The punishment served dual purposes, physical agony and public humiliation. Commanders positioned the chevalet in the camp's center, where every soldier passed multiple times daily. Men mounted on the horse wept, begged, and soiled themselves, while their comrades marched past in formation. Spanish guerrillas who captured French soldiers occasionally forced them to endure the chevalet before execution, having learned the technique by observing French military justice. Despite its brutality, the wooden horse appeared in at least 40 regimental punishment logs between 1798 and 1814. Marshal Massena particularly favored this method, ordering portable chevalets constructed for his army of Portugal. His correspondence argues the punishment was more effective than flogging because it left no visible scars. A soldier could return to duty looking unmarked while carrying internal injuries that ensured he never forgot his transgression. Forced swim in full kit. French officers developed a punishment specifically for soldiers who claimed illness to avoid duty, forced swimming in rivers while wearing full equipment. The regulation pack weighed 63 pounds, including musket, ammunition, greatcoat, and knapsack. Contemporary swimming techniques were primitive. Most soldiers couldn't swim at all. The punishment appeared frequently during the 1809 Danube campaign, where French forces crossed and recrossed multiple rivers pursuing Austrian armies. Captain Coignet witnessed Marshal Lannes order an entire squad into the Danube near Aspern after they claimed exhaustion prevented them from foraging. 3 men drowned immediately. The others struggled to shore and returned to duty without further complaint. Regimental records listed the drowned men as killed in action to avoid official investigations into disciplinary deaths. Officers selected rivers with moderate currents, strong enough to create genuine danger, but not so powerful that death became certain. The Ebro River in Spain became particularly notorious. British intelligence reports from 1811 described French troops being driven into the water at Bayonet Point, forced to attempt crossing while wearing everything except their shakos. Portuguese civilians gathered to watch these events, cheering when soldiers went under. Some men survived through desperate measures. They shed equipment underwater despite explicit orders to keep everything, risking court-martial for destruction of government property. Others formed human chains, the strongest swimmers supporting weaker comrades. A corporal named Chevalet became legendary for completing 3 forced swims across the Rhine, Elbe, and Vistula, each time emerging with every piece of equipment intact. His feat earned him promotion to sergeant and assignment to the Imperial Guard. The punishment achieved its objective. Malingering dropped significantly in units that employed forced swimming. Medical officers noted the irony. Soldiers who claimed illness severe enough to prevent marching somehow found strength to survive near drowning in full equipment.